We're back. Time out with the crew. This is our Friday night fights episode. Got Johnny P with us. Ready to get started?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's happening, Tommy G?
We're gonna be recapping Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. We got some UFC stuff to talk about. But let's waste no time. Let's start talking about Tyson Fury. How'd you like the fight, Johnny?
Man, Tommy, I'm telling you, that fight was awesome. We had we sneak peeked it on Tuesday, but I couldn't wait to talk about this, man. Leading up to that fight, all the press conferences that were going on, the words that were said, Fury accusing, or not Fury, Wilder accusing Fury of being a cheater, Fury embracing it and just saying he's going to take him out. Us all wondering what type of Deontay Wilder's coming in there, what type of Fury's coming in there. The guys weigh in, and Deontay Wilder is, I believe, 238, solid muscle. I mean, he is chilled. It's crazy. Fury comes in and he weighs 277, and that looked like a slim Tyson Fury to me. I mean, let's remember at one point he was over 400 pounds. On breaking loose and not living boxing, but he was 277, and he looks confident no matter what situation he's in. Press conferences, in front of the microphone, the man is confident. He knows he's coming to win. He knows what he's capable of, and he knows if he does it right that nobody can stop him. And after watching that fight, I truly believe that Tyson Fury is the baddest man on the planet, and Deontay Wilder is just number two. When the guys square off and we see the first round get under, Deontay Wilder has a different plan. He's going to the body against Tyson Fury. You see him setting up that right hand. He's pounding right hand. He's definitely working the body in the beginning, and to the point where you see Fury kind of look at him like, okay, like, let's go, and even the announcers, and absolutely, and you're like, okay, let's tire that body out, and that set it up for the right hand. And he landed it a few times. So Deontay Wilder looked crisp coming out. But then we get underway. They're trading. And in the third round, Fury puts down Wilder. And when that happens, I'm like, okay, this is going to be more of the same. Fury's going to be dominant. Let's just get out of here. I jumped out of my seat. I'm yelling. I'm like, okay, I wanted Fury to win. But at the same time, I'm like, I just don't want to see another ass whipping. And then in the fourth round, that changed. As soon as you're talking about how Fury's getting into this groove, Wilder sets up that right hand and lands it and absolutely stuns Fury.
Yep.
I mean, you see his head rock back and his world is shook. And it didn't take much, and he fell over. He gets back up, they're doing his thing, and you can tell he's hurt. All of a sudden, boop, he's dropped again, and he loses his balance. You say whatever you want about the count. It's up to the referee to do the standing 10 count and make sure he's good. You knew that Tyson Fury was good, just like you knew Wilder was good when he was down. So anybody out there saying, oh, he had X amount of time on it, it's up to the ref to count, and the man was conscious and ready to go.
Yep.
So then we got a fight. We got the fifth, up to the seventh round. In the seventh round, I want to point out, I noticed a change. Maybe it was just me, but it seemed you definitely seen that Deontay Wilder was tiring out. But what I noticed is that Fury, I talked about his confidence level. In that seventh round, Deontay Wilder lands that right hand that he's looking for. He lands it exactly how he wants to. Fury takes it, and it's almost like, okay, I can take this punch now. Deontay Wilder was tired to the point where that hand didn't have that much power anymore, and Fury used that to his advantage. He used all 277 pounds to weigh on Deontay Wilder, and he wore him absolutely down. So he's landing that right hand, and nothing's happening. That's when you see Fury is really bobbing and weaving, and he's landing combos. He is a fighter's fighter. The man knows boxing and he knows how to box. When Deontay Wilder got dragged into deep water, all he was looking for was that right hand. And no matter what, you still have to be cautious of it. Even though it did land, even though it didn't have the power, when you're not looking, no matter what, that thing puts you to sleep.
Yep.
It will put you to sleep. And so he starts weighing on him. You know, they're tying up. The ref's breaking him up. All of a sudden, in the 10th round, he knocks him down again. And that uppercut, when they were getting in those clinches and they were doing some dirty boxing, Fury was landing that uppercut. Deontay Wilder would go down, and Fury was landing that all day. So in the 10th round, he knocks him down. Bell rings. They come out. Now, in the 11th, when they're going at it, Deontay Wilder is absolutely out on his feet. He was out on his feet in the 10th round. The 11th round, you're just waiting to see what's happening. And he's loading up. He is absolutely loading up and trying to land that. And he almost does numerous times. You see how close they're getting. But Fury is just a better boxer. And he outboxed him.
Easy.
When he came in for that finish and they were on the clinch, back in the corner, Fury comes under, Wilder's head goes down, clean uppercut, backs him up, clean uppercut, and then it leads to the right hand. That right hand landed on the side of Wilder's head and put him out. The ref had seen enough, and that's what it was going to take, because you knew at that point Wilder's corner was not going to throw in the towel after the last fight. After the entire team was fired over it, they were not going to throw in the towel. So then you start worrying about his safety again.
So the ref has to do it now.
And the ref said he had seen enough. I don't want to take anything away from Deontay Wilder's performance, because if they fight 10 times, Fury wins 10 times.
Easy.
Wilder's right hand is what can change the game, but that's what you have to hope for. When you're in a fight with Fury, that man has every arsenal available to outbox you. He moves like no other heavyweight we've ever seen. His combinations that he throws. The man is undefeated. He's taken on. And for everything he's gone through to get to this point, the fight with Joshua no longer means as much because he lost to Usyk. But this fight against Deontay Wilder, yes, it is going to go down as one of the greatest trilogies. But I mean, let's be honest here. It wasn't the greatest trilogy of all time. Tyson Fury won those 3 fights. That first fight, yes, he was knocked down, but it went the distance. It was declared a draw. We all knew that Tyson Fury outboxed him in that first fight.
Oh, yeah.
It was that right hand that put him down.
Yep.
That second fight, Fury wasn't scared of it at all. And then this third fight, I give Deontay credit because he came in with a plan. But in that 4th round, that plan completely went out the window. When he went down that 4th round, he was loading up all night after that. That body setup is what got him that knockdown in the 5th round, and he should have stuck with it. But he went away from it, and he ended up tiring out, and the punches were losing power, and it just.
And he's getting.
He's getting pounded. He is getting absolutely pounded. He's getting bullied. He's getting combos laid on him again by a 277-pound heavyweight. Again, Tyson Fury is like nothing we've seen before. And you know, when you're the heavyweight champion of the world, you are the baddest man on the planet. So it was super dope seeing him afterwards partying with Steve Aoki at a rave, and you see all these videos of him afterwards celebrating it because the man deserves it. Everything that he's gone through, he's been fighting since a youngster. He's been fighting his mental strength. He's building it. It's awesome to see him progress, not only as a fighter, as a man, and he's enjoying all the spoils of it now and deserves it. He's undefeated. He's taken on all comers. Did we really want to see Joshua and Fury now? Absolutely not. I'd say we go Wilder, Joshua, and Usyk and Fury, and then we see what happens. Joshua and Wilder is a better fight, I think.
What do you say to people that want to see Dylan White against Fury? The 2 Britain fighters. Dylan has a lot of power.
Yeah.
Dylan does have not the same as Wilder, but it's definitely a nice right hook. that
Yep.
could give Fury some trouble. But like you said,
Yep.
Usyk, he's definitely a better fighter for Fury. So I just like
I think-
I like the two Britain. Not to cut you off, but I like the
Yeah.
two Britain. Fight. You know, they had the two fighters.
Oh yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
nice, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And it's not a bad matchup because you honestly say who's next. I mean, you got these fighters, these mega fights. They're few and far between. I give Fury all the credit. That fight had to happen for boxing. I mean, it was it was an awesome night for boxing, an awesome night for the fans. You know, Fury's got boxing on his back. You know, besides Canelo and Garcia and Gervonta and all the guys who are still grinding and got it going, but the heavyweight division, Fury has put on his back the sport of boxing, and it would be awesome to see him against Usyk, Dillon, whoever. Honestly, I think he beats them all. Seriously, Usyk is just a technical boxer who's moved up in weight, so he's got the speed. Because we always talk, you know, Fury's faster than all these guys. He's landing these punches. He doesn't move. Well, Usyk's a smaller guy and he's technical. So I wonder what Fury does against someone like that. You know, with Dillon, we've seen the power, we've seen the right hand, we've seen the aggression and stuff like that. So I think it'd be a better matchup with Usyk just on a technical to see who lands the cleaner punches, who really is faster. Because you know, Usyk is you know, he's sneaky for as small as he is. I mean, obviously we've seen what he did against Joshua, but I worry about Anthony Joshua's mental state, like at the moment with everything he's got going on. You see him pulling away in fights. You see him not, I don't want to say quitting, but you see him kind of just checking out. I mean, if that's quitting, that is, but I mean, you've seen it in the Ruiz fight. You've seen it in this fight. I mean, but he was literally outboxed. So I don't know if he's overlooking these guys to the next opponent, or if it's something to where really, if he gets dragged into deep waters early, he'll kind of tap out. And you'd hate to see that because, you know, we were all hoping for Fury and Joshua, but with what's happening with Deontay Wilder right now, I mean, imagine that. I didn't like what happened at the end of the fight where, you know, Fury tried to come up to Wilder and squash it, and Wilder told him he didn't respect him, didn't say anything to him, and left the ring. No love at all. But you've seen, you know, afterwards he put on Twitter, and I guess it can be, you know, half-assed or whatever you think of it, with him saying, you know, he definitely said it all in that tweet afterwards where he said it was an awesome experience. He moved him as a fighter. He elevated him, all this stuff. He gave him all the gratitude in the world. I just wish it would have been in the ring, because that's when you see these two warriors squash it and they leave it in the ring.
I feel like he got with his social media guy and he typed it up for him.
Exactly.
In the ring, you could just tell he didn't want nothing to do with it. And you've seen on social media, his team put out that he broke his hand. They said in the 5th round or something like that, and he wasn't the same fighter. I just feel like there's a lot of excuses because he's not used to losing. That it's just like now it's like I got to find anything possible.
Exactly.
So people don't think like, okay, this is all right. Look, you lost to Tyson Fury. That's the one guy you can't beat. Doesn't mean you can't beat Anthony Joshua or Usyk, Dillon White. These guys, you know, I put Wilder above all of those guys.
Yep.
It's just Fury is a better fighter than him, and you've seen it.
100%. 100%. Absolutely. Wilder. That's why I say Tyson Fury is the number 1 in the world. Wilder is the number 2. And if you're Wilder, just to your point. Exactly. If you're Wilder, this is the only man that's the only obstacle you couldn't put to sleep. So in your head, you not only is your confidence shook, but your awareness of everything around you. Like you have to question everything when it comes to this point. You've tried to climb this mountain and you couldn't do it. So you come back and you're not only shook, the state that you're in. Of course. You'd love to be the perfect sportsman. Of course, you'd love to do all that. But in the moment, in the heat of the moment, that's probably the last thing on your mind. That's probably the worst, you know. So I don't fault the guy for it. I didn't like it, but at the same time, you got to understand what he's going through. But I do believe that if he gets in there with Joshua, he puts Joshua to sleep.
Oh yeah.
I believe Fury is the only man that he couldn't do it. And like you said,
And
we seen it. So
and he landed the big shots.
yeah,
Every hit you've seen, I don't know if it's 42 or 47 knockouts he has, but there was 40 something people that got knocked out by that right hand, and
absolutely.
Fury took it and got right back up. And that's why everybody's giving credit to Fury, because it's not only that he won the fight, that he beat him twice. It's he took the hit that everybody else goes to sleep on, and he gets right back up and goes at him. He doesn't back up, puts up his guard. He goes at him even more. That's what everybody loved to see from him,
And that's the thing about Fury. It almost seems like he has to get touched. It almost seems like he has to get knocked down, slapped around in order to wake him up. If you watch his past fights, those are the moments that he springs back. But just for a man not only to take those shots, but to smile in his face and to come back at him with, violent intent is insane when you think about it. It's absolutely crazy, but it was an awesome fight. These guys are absolute warriors. And the heavyweight division is back. If Joshua gets his stuff right, these guys get these fights together. I mean, it's the promoters that are the problem. You have celebrity boxing, Jake Paul, and these guys doing numbers. So the numbers are there. The promotion is there. You have to get these guys together. And these guys are, they're making 30 million, 40 million, 50 million dollars when they fight. If they want to fight multiple times a year, let them do it. It should be, these guys should be running it like an actual business. But you got all these promoters fighting with each other. This agent doesn't work with this guy. It's sad that these super fights don't happen more often, because in the UFC they do. If there's two of the baddest dudes in the division, 9 times out of 10 they put them together.
Yep. Oh yeah. But yeah, like I said, that was one of the top fights I've seen in a really long time for boxing. Like, that was really good. We just had so many, like you just said, the Jake Paul, the Logan Paul fights. So to actually see 2 heavyweights going out there again and putting on a great show,
Yeah, man.
amazing. But I want to ask you something. There's been a lot of stuff, a lot of Wilder fans that are saying that the clinching, that they don't like his clinching that Tyson Fury does. What do you got to say there? You think that he overuses it to his advantage, being the bigger guy?
I would definitely say that. I would definitely say that he uses it as an advantage. And I mean, that's a part of boxing. You name me a heavyweight fight where they haven't clinched, and that's part of a guy's game plan. I truly believe that was part of Tyson Fury's game plan. He said it. He said he was going to wear on him. He said he was going to put him in a headlock. He said all those things. So I understand that they didn't like it. Deontay, it's up to you to not get in those situations. And I really thought the ref did a good job of letting them try to body each other and push their way past, because he let them work in the clinch. And we talk about the boxing, Fury's a better boxer. So when they get in those tight spaces and those tight corners, Fury's moving along with it. Whether he's punching you, he can't calculate where Deontay's head's moving and how low he goes. Because when Wilder ducks, he ducks. So if Fury's coming with a couple, punches to the side of the head and he ducks down, those things are to the back of the head. It's not Fury's fault. Like I said, it's up to Wilder to back up. So I definitely think he uses it as an advantage, and more power to him. And like I said, Wilder came in at 240, just solid. So I truly believe that size definitely played a factor. But you would also think that Wilder should have been the fresher fighter, the lighter fighter.
Oh yeah.
But he was absolutely exhausted against a man who was almost 40 pounds heavier than him.
Bigger than him.
Absolutely.
And then from the 7th round till he got, it got called in the 11th, he was hitting him nonstop in I think it was the left ear, nonstop.
Yeah.
And that was throwing Wilder completely off. He wasn't able to stand right, and like you said, his right hand seemed to not work as it didn't hurt as much as it normally does.
Yep.
And he's seen it, and he kept picking them apart. And like you, man, Tyson Fury is he's such a great fighter. It was nice to see that. He's such a good fighter.
And they brought it up during the fight. The announcer said, like, you know, Fury's touching his right hand. Is there something wrong with it? So if it did fracture, if something did happen, Wilder was throwing that thing. Like I said, in the 7th, 8th, 9th round, you were still worried about that thing. It was still landing. It was hitting them. Again, it happens. If it did happen, you know, during a punch in an earlier round, I mean that sucks. But these type of things happen when you step in the ring. I mean,
and you gotta keep going.
You got to keep moving, otherwise you tap out. It's one or the other. So I give him the credit. I give Wilder even more credit if it was broken and he still continued to go on and you know, didn't worry about the pain and was just trying to swing for his life. I couldn't imagine myself in those shoes. I give him all the credit in the world. It's sad to see that you're number 2, but again, you're the second baddest man on the planet. There's besides Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder is still the man. He's still a monster. He's still a knockout machine. So by no means should he be discouraged. Again, if you want to try to climb that mountain again, you get a couple of fights and try to go back at it. I just think that chapter is done. And I think for him, even going into this trilogy with Fury, he was talking about retirement beforehand. You know, Wilder doesn't need to do this much longer, to be honest. I mean, he could, you know, touch up Joshua if he beats him and be on his way out. I mean, honestly, he doesn't have to do this anymore. It's however hungry he wants to be. I would imagine he wants at least another one to get victory back, to get a win under his belt or something. And then Fury, it's just off to the races, whatever you wanted to do. I mean, I think the man's 31 years old, so he's got some time ahead of him. So it's just going to be interesting to see where this all goes. But it's awesome to watch the heavyweight division back, baby.
And do you think he signs a fight right away, or do you think he relaxes, takes his time?
I think he relaxes for a little bit. We probably won't see him next year, maybe late next year, because when after he fought Wilder, they enacted the immediate rematch clause when he wanted to fight Joshua. No. So I mean, I'm sure he was training at that moment. I'm not sure when the Joshua fight would have been, but I know Fury wanted to get this out of the way. As much as he said that he you know, studied for it, trained for it, whatever. I know, not that he was looking past him, but he knew he could beat Wilder and just wanted a different challenge.
Yeah.
So it's just it was awesome to see.
All right, well let's switch gears and go to the UFC.
Oh man!
And there was
mixed martial arts, baby.
There's some crazy news that happened though.
Yeah.
What do you got for us?
Well, there's some things happening right now in the world of mixed martial arts, but there is an organization called Bare Knuckle Boxing, and they've been around for a while, but they just had a fighter, Justin Thornton, who had just passed away from complications from a fight 6 weeks prior against Dylan Kleckner. There was a heavyweight bout, and again, when you're in bare knuckle boxing, that's exactly how it sounds. They wrap your wrist, but your knuckles are exposed, and you kind of just go at it. There's a few ex-UFC fighters, people who, when they're done with their career, have gone to bare knuckle boxing. Now, whether you're a fan of it or not, I mean, it's a sanctioned organization. The fighters sign off on it. They go through health screenings and stuff like that. But Justin was in the first round with Dylan, and he landed a haymaker on him, and it wasn't the knockout which caused the serious injury. It was the fall. So after he hits him, the way Justin fell, he kind of dove head first into the canvas, and when that happened, they believed a spinal injury happened. I believe it was a spinal hematoma, and I believe it instantly paralyzed him. And he had to be carted out on a stretcher. He goes to the hospital, and he's just going through the fight of his life after that. I mean, he's going through bouts of they're performing surgery on him, but what he ultimately succumbed to was pneumonia. But everything was due. He hadn't left the hospital. He was in the hospital since that night. He had no function of his upper or lower body parts, and it's just sad to see. And you see, Dana White and all these fighters responding and stuff like that. And Dana White comes out and he says that they spend up to $20 million on fighter medicals and going through screenings, and there's people from the UFC who have had screenings and been stopped and have never fought again due to complications that may have led to a possible death in the octagon. So you do give the UFC credit when it comes to stuff like that with screening their fighters and at least attempting to go at it, because I'm sure in bare knuckle boxing the testing isn't sufficient. You don't know if Justin had an issue beforehand. It's just kind of a thought hereafter, because it's something that can always happen, and it reminds you that fighting is not a game. You don't play mixed
at all
martial arts. You don't play in the octagon. You don't play in whatever cage you're in. And these fighters go in every single time knowing that not only like something like that, but your limbs can get snapped off, your eyeballs can get, you know what I mean? It gives you a new respect for these guys that are willing to put it all on the line and step in for a piece of a gold belt, and to be remembered that they're willing to put themselves through this. And one fighter paid the ultimate price. I mean, I'm sure that this Dylan guy, it's going to weigh heavy on him. I know he tweeted out and said that, his opponent passed away due to complications with pneumonia, but everybody knows that it was from that fight, and it was from the way he landed. So that's got to be something that lays on your conscience that
definitely
not that he could expecting it. And we just give our condolences to Justin's family. It's so sad to see, but it is a risk that these guys take when they step in there. Unfortunately, like I said, one of them paid the ultimate price. So we just wanted to take some time and give our condolences.
And even freak accidents, because like you said, it wasn't the hit that did it; it was the landing. And we seen so many leg injuries, not severe as death, but leg injuries where you just seen a fighter's leg just snap in half due to a kick the wrong way. And man, they put their lives on the line just to be remembered.
Yeah, absolutely. It's man, it's sad. We just had to mention that and get our condolences to the family, and we wish them well, and hopefully they find peace in this time. So that just but moving on a later note, not to say it like that, but we get some other news coming out of the UFC. Luis Pena was just released from the UFC due to an ongoing issue that he has. His girlfriend, who also is a fighter, I don't think she's a UFC fighter, but this week she called the police, and the charges were domestic violence and assault and battery. So allegedly, Luis Pena was either drinking or on drugs. It has yet to be founded, so we say allegedly.
Yep.
The 911 call is released, and she calls the police, and apparently he had choked her the night before. I don't know if it's a reoccurring thing or whatever, but definitely with Luis Pena, they do have him on record before with domestic violence. I just mean with this specific girlfriend. So she calls in, and she says that she wants the police there, that apparently he had choked her last night, and then this day that they were arguing, apparently he put his hands on her, and then another woman, I'm assuming it is her friend. They call the police, and the police come, but it gets a little interesting because apparently his girlfriend does not want to cooperate at first. Doesn't say anything, and didn't want to give them her address. I'm not sure, but apparently she did not want to cooperate. Well, then the 911 operator gets another call, and it's her calling back, and she's requesting the squad car to come back. She wants them to come back, and I just think because they were just there, they put the call out. I think the cops took their time getting back because, they knew the situation and knew that she hadn't cooperated before. Yep. So I believe she calls 911 at least 3 times. It was for sure twice. I believe it was 3 times. And when the 911 operator is speaking to her, asking, she's asking standard questions. So she's saying, was there drugs or alcohol involved? The girlfriend says that he's drinking and on drugs. Again, she's just accusing, we're not sure. But she said that when she told the police officers to leave the first time, he then grabbed a hold of her, smashed her phone, and threatened to, beat her ass, apparently. Yeah. But where he hit her, the details are a little foggy, but apparently in the police report, it says that he struck her and her friend. So apparently they waited outside the apartment, waited for the cops to show up. The police show up, they arrest him. Dana White released a statement. They reacted swiftly and justly because, again, it's sad for this Luis Pena guy because he's a fighter who I believe found his family while he was entering the UFC. I know he had some struggles with I'm not sure, mental illness and stuff like that. So he was actually like a charismatic fighter who people were kind of rooting for, but you knew that there was something going on there. Yeah. They had him with domestic violence. He had issues with the police before, so I believe it was a no-brainer for the UFC to cut him. Unfortunately, we hope he gets it together. He gets himself on track, but there really is just no room for that. When you're a UFC fighter, it's not a good look at all for there to be any kind of domestic violence issues. So Dana White was in a media scrum, and they asked him the question about Jon Jones. So one of the reporters asked, since they're taking this action with Pena, what is the difference with Jon Jones? What I do say with Jon Jones, they are 2 different circumstances. Now, right now, the optics of both are that both of them are domestic violence. What I say to that is, Jon Jones, no matter what we think, no matter what we've seen, no matter what we assume, the wife is saying that he didn't hit her and that her lips crack in the desert heat. Mm-hmm. Jon Jones is now saying that he never hit her because his coach, I'm going to butcher the name. I believe it's Mark Winkleton. I might get that wrong. From Jackson Winkle, the gym that Jon Jones trains from. Yep. He was on the Ariel Helwani show, and he said that Jon Jones is not welcome back in the gym at the moment. He coaches, women's self-defense classes, and what he had said was there's been too many issues with Jon Jones, that he loves him like a brother. But at this time, until he gets his shit together, until he proves that this is something that he wants to do and leaves alcohol behind, he is not welcome in the gym. And that was breaking news on Tuesday. After that interview, it kind of went viral that Coach Wink said that he was kind of banned from the gym. Now, there's other coaches there that are going to continue to work with Jon Jones because Jon Jones tweeted afterwards saying he had one of the most heartbreaking conversations with one of his closest friends. Yep. But then he goes on to say that people want to make the worst out of the things that they see. And he says, I never hit my wife. My daughter only woke up after the confrontation. So he's not only saying he didn't hit her, but he's saying that, his daughter, didn't see anything. Again, no matter what we think, assume that's what they're saying. So the UFC doesn't have a ton to go on. They have the charges from the beginning, but if nobody chooses to pursue it, there's nothing the UFC can do. Yeah. And if the wife is on board with it, if the kids are on board with it, even though we know it's a fix, even though we know it's bullshit, there's nothing that they can do. With this Luis Pena guy, it's not like he was a world champ. It's not like he's bringing in the pay-per-views. He's not doing anything like that. The UFC was doing him a favor. Yep. And as a payback, rather than keeping his head down, he gets into trouble doing shit like this, and he puts a bad look on on the organization, it's not going to happen. So the UFC absolutely cut him. And that's where I say the difference is with John Jones. Again, you got to take everything into consideration. But just unfortunate. You never hope to see a fighter lose his job, or whatever you want to call it. I'm sure. I hope he bounces back. Not I'm sure. I hope he bounces back from it. Finds an outlet, finds a way to shake whatever happens when he gets that angry, to just go to the gym or something like that, because there's no room for it. It's a bad look all the way around.
Definitely, man.
Yeah.
I just hope, and like I said, I seen this Luis Pena fight before, and he's definitely a good fighter. So it just sucks to see something that you're really talented at, that you blow it being, angry, or like you said, maybe on drugs, maybe drinking, and you just blow it.
Yeah, no, it's
instead of walking away.
Yeah, man.
The gym, there's so many outlets, I feel, and it's a lot easier for outside looking in to be, oh, we'll go do this, go do that.
Yeah.
We're not there in the moment. We're not, experiencing
Exactly.
what he's experiencing either. But
yeah, no, it sucks, and these stories are just kind of unfortunate. I mean, you've got Chuck Liddell also, who was booked for domestic violence, I believe this week as well. But I mean, that's a bit of a different case. It's unfortunate that all these are happening so close together. So everybody's just roping in UFC domestic violence fighters, So you know how it is. People just kind of put fake stuff out there.
Yeah.
But Chuck Liddell was also arrested. But once he got out, he cleared the air, and he said, just so everybody knows, he's the victim. When the cops got there, he was the one with bruises and lacerations, and said, somebody had to be removed from the home. So he was the one who offered to be removed. So if that's true, if the things got heavy and he was just like, look, take me, he called the cops and wanted to get out of there, I give him props. Again, we're all alleging things that we hear. We don't know what happened. We weren't in the house. We don't know the situation. But if it is something like that where he's like, you know what, I'll just get out of here, I do give him kudos for just getting the hell out of there before things progress. But I understand him clearing it up with a tweet. He's telling everybody respect his privacy and stuff like that. You just, again, you never want to see stuff like that, especially from a legend like Chuck Liddell. So, from domestic violences, we've got, fights being announced. We've got injuries happening. We've got, all kinds of stuff going on in the UFC. Not only UFC, mixed martial arts altogether. I mean, we've got some Bellator stuff coming up. They're doing their thing. So seeing some of these organizations and some of the fighters that they're getting and stuff like that, it's definitely popping right now. Unfortunately, like I said, you've got injuries and stuff like that. Luke Rockhold has pulled out of his fight with Sean Strickland. I believe that was supposed to take place in UFC 269, I believe. I'm not sure. It's the Usman and Covington, where the card was absolutely stacked. And unfortunately, Luke Rockhold has a herniated disc and is not able to make that fight. And this was going to be a grudge match. This was going to be something I really wanted to see, because, these guys sparred together, and Sean Strickland is that guy. You either love him or hate him. I mean, he's got a weird sense of humor, a weird way he goes about the fight game. He's an absolute psychopath while he's sparring. I mean, he released some footage where he's just screaming to the guy as he's fighting, let's fucking go, let's go. And he's just, he's an absolute beast. But I mean, Luke Rockhold, we've seen, he's an ex-champion. He's moved multiple weight divisions. He's gone out. He's come back in. He's fought the who's who. Luke Rockhold is more than capable to hold his own against a young pup like Sean Strickland. So we were super excited to see that. Unfortunately, he's out with an injury. But man, are the guys that want to line up to smack around Sean Strickland are far. We got Bilal Muhammad, who posts a message on Twitter to all the matchmakers, Sean Shelby, Dana White, all those guys, and was saying, hey, if you want me there, I'm there. I hate that piece of trash. And I want to say after Strickland said something, oh man, So then Strickland comes back at Belil and says that, if he sees him in Vegas, he's got a reason to slap him. So then Gilbert Burns hops on and says that, he wants to fight him too. He doesn't like him either. So I'm sure the UFC will put that match together. Will they put it on the same card? I hope they do, whether it's against Belil or Gilbert.
Yeah.
Awesome fight. So Sean Strickland definitely deserves another shot. Like I said, he's a freaking psychopath, so it'll be interesting to see where he goes. But unfortunately, he's out of the fight with Luke Rockhold because of Luke Rockhold's injury. So just unfortunate to see. But, we've got all kinds of stuff. You got Jorge Masvidal and Leon Edwards getting announced. That one might be for 269. I'm sure of it. I'm going to keep saying 269 until I get it right.
Yeah.
We get the return of the 3-piece and the soda. If we remember correctly, this all started 3 years ago in London. Masvidal, if everybody remembers, Masvidal is just a street fighter from Miami, from the streets of Miami. He was in Kimbo Slice's backyard fights, right? He goes on a tear. He's in the WEC, gets a deal in the UFC. He's doing his thing. George Masvidal goes on a game show, and he's gone for a year. No technology, no phones, no nothing. And what he says was, while he was there, he was allowed to be in his own mind. And what he says was he was able to play back every fight that he's ever had and see what he did wrong and solve each puzzle. And he came to a reckoning while he was out there and said when he comes back, he's just going to knock people out. He's let it go into decisions. The fights aren't going his way. He's struggling. So he said, A to B, I am just going to put them to sleep.
I'm not going to give them a chance to let them decide. I'm gonna
absolutely. So he hops back in on London, and it's a fight in London in the O2 Arena. And if you remember, he was fighting Darren Till at the moment. Now, Darren Till, even though he's coming off a loss right now, at that time, he was a surging prospect in the UFC. He was the next Conor McGregor. He was the next Michael Bisping. So, see, after Michael Bisping, British MMA was kind of stagnant. It was on a standstill, and he was supposed to bring it back, right? Darren Till was supposed to bring it back. So he got the nickname the Gorilla because he's got that left hand. He's coming up. He's this English kid. He's a Scouser, but he lives in Brazil for a couple of years. He speaks Portuguese, and he's this talent that people are surprised by. He's big for the division. He's quick, and he's got a left hand to boot. So they were, in all honesty, I truly believe that the UFC was feeding Masvidal to Darren Till. They were trying to put all their eggs in Darren Till's basket, and they were trying to, I don't know if they were trying to push Masvidal out the door, or if maybe, again, Masvidal was older at that point to see, how this was all going to go. It was in London, so, it was in his backyard. It was in Darren Till's hometown. That event was made for Darren Till.
Yep.
Masvidal comes out, and he does get dropped by Darren Till in the first round. Darren Till catches him, corkscrewed him, bang, drops him. And you see afterwards, Masvidal made a change to where he wasn't going to catch that. And Darren Till started coming in like he wanted a beast mode. Well, Masvidal eventually lands that missile on Darren Till, puts him to sleep in front of his home crowd. Done, right?
Wow.
Masvidal's riding high because remember, home crowd, he's getting booed in the arena. Well,
he loves that.
That was a UK fight. There was UK fighters on that fight. And on that fight card was Mr. Leon Rocky Edwards, right? So he comes, he wins his fight. Now, Masvidal is backstage. He's doing an interview, I believe with Megan Oliveira, I'm not sure. And as he's talking about the fight and, where to go from here, Leon Edwards and his group of friends are walking by. Now, Leon says something to Masvidal in the wake of, watch your back or try that shit with me. Something about the octagon. He was talking to him about a fight. He's stirring up the pot to lead to a fight. Shit talking is what he was doing.
Yep.
Masvidal, like I said, is a street boy from Miami. So Masvidal, in the middle of an interview, pays zero attention. You see him lock eyes with Leon as he walks past. So he says something about getting knocked out the next time. Masvidal goes, maybe, maybe not. Takes one look at the ground and then says, hey, say that to my face. He walks up, again, his hands are behind his back. Leon steps forward. Masvidal hits him. Boop, boop, boop. Lands a couple shots. Everybody breaks it up, pulls it apart. A couple of Leon Edwards guys try to smack Masvidal. Doesn't happen, right? Now, when the camera goes to Leon, he's busted open. He's bleeding. Masvidal connected. So it blew up. It went viral, especially when Masvidal landed in America. He does another interview with, I believe, MMA Junkie. I'm not 100% sure. And in the interview, that is where we get the birth of the three-piece and the soda. He's telling him about the altercation, and then that's when he goes, you're not going to punch me in my face. So I had to hit him with the three-piece and the soda and glide out of there. Yep. So once he did that interview, it absolutely blew up. It overshadowed Masvidal's win against Darren Till and putting that hype train, derailing that hype train. The talk was about Leon Edwards and Masvidal because, you know, from there, I guess the London boys were looking for Masvidal and he got to America, whatever. Apparently, Leon Edwards was blowing up the UFC saying that he wanted to fight with Masvidal. Now, Masvidal at that time was chasing a world championship. And the UFC isn't keen on if you get into fights outside the octagon that they're going to give you the fights inside because then everybody would just be fighting each other and saying, hey, let's settle in here. So I understand the UFC's point of view by saying, you know, let's pump the brakes on this, okay? Yep. So they do. Leon wants to fight, whatever. Jorge Masvidal, you know, wants to fight for a world championship. Does his thing. Well, now, 3 years later, Masvidal has agreed to a fight with Leon Edwards, and we will get the settlement of the three-piece and the soda that started 3 years ago in London. I don't know if you can tell, Tommy, I'm pretty fucking excited about that fight.
Oh, hell yeah. And
I know I went on a long rant about that, but honestly, I mean, these are two fighters. I absolutely love Masvidal, but Leon Edwards is just a dog who is 9-0 in his last 9 fights. His last loss was to the champion, Kamaru Usman, years ago. And I'm just interested to see how this fight plays out. And Leon's been running his mouth. He said that at all the press conferences, anything leading up to the fight, it is on site with Masvidal. So you're going to see some fireworks here. No matter what you got to say about Leon, he is saying that no matter where they go, he is in Masvidal's face. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen here. I can't wait to see how it goes down. And Leon said if he beats Jorge, he wants that belt because then that means he took out Nate Diaz and he took out Masvidal. He is the baddest motherfucker.
Yep. And Masvidal, he needs to bounce back. Yeah. You know, after taking those 2 losses because, you know, I was one of them. Everybody was saying, oh, you know, Kamaru Usman was holding him up. Was stepping on him, was doing this, was doing that, you know, playing the ground game against somebody that only boxes. Well, the second fight, Kamaru comes in there, lands at what everybody, you know, was saying. He can fight. And, you know, he's not just a ground person.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't believe it. So he showed me that fight that he can actually go out there and do what Masvidal can do with Conor McGregor can do what all these guys can do too. It ain't just the ground game.
And just do it better.
Oh yeah, and do it at a higher level.
Man.
But yeah, that's gonna be amazing though. That's gonna be a great fight.
And you got that. They announced Dustin Poirier and Charles Oliveira on December 11th to fight for the lightweight championship of the world. Dustin the Diamond Poirier finally gets his shot at undisputed. Not finally, he gets a shot again at undisputed gold.
And Khabib's, I don't know if you've seen Khabib's manager was sitting there talking shit about that fight after it got announced that they're not.
Is that Ali Abdelaziz?
Yes, that they're not fighting for the real belt. That they're fighting for the UFC's fake gold. And it's
Hey,
like,
man.
if it's not the real belt, then you need to tell your fighter, go, go
Then
defend
go
your
give
belt.
it back. Yeah, exactly.
Go get it back.
He's talking shit. Khabib is completely content with his decision to be
Done.
retired. So
He's
he gave
done.
up the belt. I mean, here's the thing: if Dustin Poirier, just because Khabib beat him, what does that mean? Dustin Poirier is never the champion. If Charles Oliveira defends it, is he not the champ? I mean, that doesn't make sense. He's just talking shit to talk shit. But again, it was so awesome to see Charles Oliveira win the belt over Michael Chandler. It just seemed right. It seemed like it needed to happen. I feel like that all over again with Dustin Poirier. I feel like it's absolutely written in the stars that he finally, after all of his years, after his 25th, 26th, whatever fight it is, 20-something fights with Zuffa, is going to be on the top of that mountain. I hope I'm not, putting a juju on him or anything like that, but I think this is because of the long way he had to go around. Like he said, he's not the shit talker or anything like that, so if he's got to fight a few more fights to get to the belt, then that's what he's got to do, and that's what he's done. I mean, Dustin Poirier has taken on all fucking comers. He has taken on Holloway, he's taken on Hooker, he's taken on Khabib, Gagey, Anthony Pettis. I mean, McGregor. He's taken on he's taken on everybody, and he's done it, like I said, 20-something times.
At each level. Level.
So you see that where they didn't do this huge push behind him, and he went around the back door. But now you see it all coming to fruition. The fights with Conor, the money's coming in now. His foundation, his family, and he can put that all together with the lightweight belt around his waist on December 11th. I mean, as much as I rooted for Oliveira, I'm rooting for Dustin Poirier in this one, man. And like he said, paid in full.
And it sucks too because it seems like, I don't know if you feel it like it, but in both fights, Oliveira is the underdog amongst the fans. It seems like all the love went to Michael Chandler and all the love is going to Dustin Poirier. So if he's able to pull it out again, after beating Chandler, and if he does it against Poirier, that's something special to have, everybody going against you, and then to still pull it out.
Yeah, no, if you're Charles Oliveira, I mean, you just got to be licking your chops because every fight people are saying that it took so long. And I talk about Dustin Poirier for the long road for getting to the belt. Look at Charles Oliveira. Yeah. Charles Oliveira was just as long. His was even longer.
Yes.
It was just, these guys, you don't get mad either way. I'm rooting for Dustin. I hope it happens, but I'm not mad either way. Both guys deserve it. Both guys have paid for it in blood. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be a fun fight, man. You've got both guys who are stand-up guys who can definitely put you to sleep. I mean, you've seen it. Anybody's got anything to say about Oliveira's knockout power, you've seen it with Michael Chandler. Anybody who says Oliveira quits, you've seen him knocked down in that round and almost knocked out, and then he comes back in the second round and he knocks out Michael Chandler. So he's got it in him. The guy's not a quitter. He's ready to ball and he's ready to bang with anybody. Dustin Poirier is ready to bang. So it's not a matter of if, it's when those fireworks pop off.
Yeah, he's a gangster. Yeah, that's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I can't wait. I cannot wait.